So today we're going to have a look at making another wheel arch for the Princess. We've played around with a few different things now. On the other side of the car, we looked at doing that smaller type, like everybody kept saying, Mark II Escort type wheel arch. There's elements of that I liked, elements of that I didn't like. It didn't really tie into the big side skirt very easily. And then we looked at like extending the back of the wheel arch out, like it was more of a Lancia Delta Integrale type, I guess, quarter panel extension, like an M3 type thing, E30 M3. So we've played around with a few things. I'm kind of a bit happier in that the direction we're going. It's a bit of a hybrid of those.
Means it probably doesn't help.
No. I don't think it works. I mean, I can't visualise it.
But one thing I want to try, based on the feedback that a lot of people gave, but also I'm just becoming less confident in my own decision, was the size of the side skirt. I did make quite a boxy, bulky side skirt because I thought it would make the car look lower. But to confirm it to myself, I'm going to make something smaller. I'm going to make a much simpler, smaller sill panel. I think that will be much easier to tie the wheel arch into. So I've kind of mocked up a few different things, trying to get the measurements right. I'm about there now, so I'm just going to cut a metre long piece out, bend it up, wang it on the car and see what it looks like. Oh, hi there. I've got that bent up now, and I don't know if it's just because it's different, because that's sometimes how the mind works, but I think I prefer it. Whether I will in a week or two, I don't know. But I can already see how making the wheel arch section of that is going to be a lot easier. So I think for now I'm going to leave that clamped on. I'm going to go back now to what we're going to do with the rear end of this wheel arch and try and mock something else up again. Kind of where we've got to is that we're looking to try and do something like this, I guess. It's quite tricky in terms of getting the bending right at the back end. We'll probably move to some cardboard again first before I bend up any more steel. But one thing that I have obviously gotten wrong is I'm not bringing it out far enough, and that's giving me an issue when I'm trying to give ourselves tyre clearance, because when I'm thinking about suspension travel. So before I was trying to keep it quite tight to the top of the sidewall of the tyre, but then of course as you bring it in, as you taper the wheel arch in, it's like obviously it's cutting over the tyre, so obviously as the tyre goes up and down, that's not going to work. So I need to start with it further out and leave the taper until later, which is why I've now got an extra fold in this. So rather than it just kind of tapering from the centre of the wheel arch back, it's going to be more like straight, then taper. And I think that'll work better. So that's kind of what I'm going to try and rejig up now in some cardboard, then cut some steel out. Cool, so that's looking pretty good. I've just done some tiny little TIG tacks on here. Again, this will be very much a prototype. I imagine I'll make this again, and then as I do that, I'll be able to make two of everything so that it's the same on the other side to try and make it as symmetrical as possible. But we've now got that tyre clearance that we want. Of course, it's still wobbling around on here, so it's not fixed, but I can see that we're going to be able to get that tyre clearance now. I haven't fixed this kind of angle yet. Again, we can play around with that. I kind of think it wants to just be like straight down, because then when the wheel has a little bit of camber on it, it should look good. Next thing to do is to figure out that back piece, and then where we're going to cut it off at, where we're going to actually exit, and then how far down we're going to bring it. So it'll be a case of getting the cardboard out again, figuring out what I'm going to do on that back piece, and then cutting it out. Right, so we've got this back piece tacked in now, and we're starting to see some shape, and it's starting to be pretty exciting because I'm much more confident with where we're at now. The only issue we've got currently is that obviously it's getting quite a bit of weight to it now, because it's, you know, it's like a 3D steel structure. So I'm gonna make a piece which is going to go in kind of like the bottom of the wheel arch here. Now, I don't expect this piece to stay, or any of this really. Like I say, it is all kind of like a bit of a working prototype, but it will, we've kind of decided on that this will be where the wheel arch finishes, we think. So now this piece will allow us to define probably what is the boot floor height of the car, and it's looking pretty good with what we've already got inside. So I'm just going to cut one of these out, get it tacked on, and then we should be able to attach this onto the car body a bit better, and then begin to work onto the front. Right, so got that bottom piece welded in now, and this back piece, as you can see, it is very much still like a working prototype, but it's just to try. Cardboard isn't good enough to a certain point. You need to get something in steel, and I'm kind of happy with the direction this is going. I have no idea what it will look like by the time it's all welded up, and yeah, we've still got to figure out what we're going to do with the back yet and the front, but we're getting there, I think. So we just need to try and have a little play with the front now and see if we can get it to match up with what we got at the back. So I'll probably use the same pattern. We've done some drawings on the whiteboard of what Sam's done some drawings. I did some drawings and they look terrible. Sam's done some drawings and it looks all right. So what we're probably going to do now is use these same patterns and try and like mirror it on the front, but maybe make it a bit slimmer. So yeah, we'll have a play. Oh, hi. Right, so we've kind of mocked this up, as we said, so we've kind of extended this out, trying to keep everything symmetrical. There are lots of challenges to this. There's like the door, there's how we're going to tighten the side skirt, but trying to just break it down into individual steps. I think the best thing to do at this stage is going to be just to level off at the bottom of the door. Now, I don't want to leave it like that because it looks weird. You know, you can't have like a quarter panel extension where there's just nothing under the, you know, like the door section. So what we need to do once we've done that is then widen the skirt out or the sill out to match it, or something like that. So yeah, like what we're going to do now is cut these pieces out in steel, obviously extend it, get them tacked on just like we've done at the back, start making everything, you know, bring it together in steel, and then we can begin to look at what we're going to do with that sill or quarter panel, the sill or the kind of side skirty thing, and figure out how we make that work and style it right. And then we can look at how we're going to split it so that it comes away. Again, like we've got to make sure that the lower portion, the sill portion, is separate to the door portion, and then again the door portion separate to the rear quarter panel portion. It's all got to be able to come away with the door. So yeah, cut these out. Right, so you can see now that we've got like a very symmetrical front and back. There's still something about it that we're not really sure about in terms of like, it just doesn't seem to look right. And we thought that some of it was how this section seems to run uphill. Like with the back, running uphill's okay because you have those kind of points that come together and it looks, you know, the lines kind of converge. But at the front, with it running up, it just doesn't look right. So we tried like kind of cutting a piece out of it, pushing it down. That doesn't look right either. We've played around with maybe like cutting the whole front of this off and making it open. But basically, modelling and designing, you know, aesthetic wings, quarter panels and stuff like that for a car, it's really hard. You've got to try and make it look right. And I'm keen to make sure that it does look good. I don't want to go to all this effort and it look terrible. So we will persevere, and I am keen to actually really see what people think. We've got lots of shots of it as we've been doing it, and I think from the back it does look good. I'm happy with it. You know, we might radius that a little bit there, but I think it does, like, I don't feel like we're too far away, but we have got some ideas of things we might try. We might have a go with some, you know, the expanding foam type method of like expanding foaming it and then maybe making some things in fiberglass. I would have liked to have done steel, but the reality is I've spent like 3 or 4 days, full days, cutting, chopping cardboard, taping, and I'm not really any more confident than I was in the first place. It's a very difficult thing to do. So I don't really want to resort to fiberglass, but I might do if that ends up being something that we can make better shapes with. The thing is with the steel, I'm limited as to what we can do in terms of like shapes we can make, really. I'm not a panel fabricator. It is a very specialist thing. Like if you look at some of the work that Retro Power do on like making wings and wheel arches for things, it's such an involved job to do it well that I'm not going to be able to do that as a hobbyist. It just doesn't happen. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I do need some input on this. We'll probably post some pictures on my Instagram account as well, so make sure you follow my Instagram account. I'll put a link in the description, because I just feel like it needs maybe, you know, some brains to come together and be like, look, I think this is what you need to try, or whatever it is. So yeah, I hope it's been entertaining to watch nonetheless. Again, I know it's a little bit fabrication light and more just me playing around with ideas, but we are going to get to some really cool stuff on this car soon, like turbos and things like that. So yeah, thanks for watching.